In this podcast episode, Chris Williamson shares deep insights on embracing life without taking it too seriously, setting achievable goals, overcoming procrastination, and cultivating discipline. He explores the complexities of change, productivity, and emotional well-being, while reflecting on success, love, and the qualities that define a good man today. The conversation also touches on cultural differences, handling setbacks, and the challenges of personal growth and striving for fulfillment. Chris opens by urging listeners to stop taking life so seriously, reminding us all that no one escapes life alive and that within a few generations, our names will likely be forgotten. This, he suggests, should offer a liberating perspective, encouraging people to momentarily drop their problems and seek joy despite the inevitability of life's continuous challenges. The period between Christmas and New Year represents a perfect moment for reflection and planning big dreams with fresh intentionality, given the cultural downtime that naturally invites introspection. A fundamental principle Chris emphasizes is the idea that to take on new goals, one must first let go of something else. People often overcommit by trying to achieve too much at once, like losing significant weight, moving cities, and starting a business all simultaneously, which sets them up for failure. Instead, he advises assuming that capacity remains constant and focusing on substitution rather than addition. This approach means consciously choosing what to subtract from your life to make space for what you want to add, underscoring that sustainable progress requires manageable, realistic shifts. Chris highlights that many people experience high rates of New Year's resolution abandonment due to motivation fluctuations and lack of sustainable discipline. He points out that while some advocate starting change immediately regardless of timing, others appreciate the symbolic and practical pause that the year's end offers. He encourages structured reflection during this time to help people identify their true priorities and break free from unproductive ruminations over past regrets or future worries, facilitating intentional forward planning. One of the most striking tools Chris shares is a series of powerful, sometimes uncomfortable, self-inquiry questions. These include imagining what would make the 85-year-old version of yourself miserable, what thoughts you repeated excessively that caused harm, and envisioning what an audience would scream at you if your life were a movie. Such questions expose hidden truths, challenge complacency, and help clarify what you genuinely want, urging acceptance of emotional authenticity rather than suppressing feelings for the sake of an image of strength. Chris discusses the paradox of striving, a constant pursuit embedded in human nature, which simultaneously drives progress but can cultivate a chronic sense of insufficiency. He acknowledges that external successes such as fame or wealth do not fill internal voids, an unteachable lesson learned only through lived experience. The common human condition involves simultaneously acknowledging that external achievement alone will not bring fulfillment, but continuing the effort regardless, which shapes much of our complex relationship with happiness. The conversation touches on societal attitudes, especially contrasting British and American cultural mindsets. Chris expresses disappointment at the UK's frequent tall poppy syndrome and lack of encouragement for success and risk-taking, which contrasts with the American culture that actively supports and cheers on individual ambition. He advocates for lifting others up and applauding attempts, recognizing that failures pave the way for everyone's growth, and laments that such positivity and solidarity are often missing in his home country's mainstream discourse. Chris delves into habits that yield significant returns both mentally and physically, focusing on foundational elements such as sleep, reduced alcohol intake, limiting phone use in the bedroom, and regular physical activity. He warns against overambitious New Year's goals that lack consistency and sustainability and recommends the never miss 2 days in a row rule to build durable habits. Through these habits, even small gains can compound to meaningful long-term benefits without overwhelming an already finite energy budget. Addressing productivity, Chris introduces the concept of productivity dysmorphia, where people underestimate their own output, perpetually feeling behind. This relentless self-criticism hampers satisfaction and often leads to burnout. He suggests focusing efforts on the one big thing that matters most each day to cut through overwhelm and procrastination. The two main causes of procrastination he identifies are not knowing the next physical action and lacking the skills to execute it. Breaking big goals into tiny, manageable steps and cultivating humility and self-compassion are key to overcoming these blocks. Success is deeply personal, rooted in self-awareness and aligned priorities rather than external markers such as status or wealth. Chris advocates cultivating agency, the belief in one's ability to influence the environment, as vital to human joy and endeavor. He stresses that waiting for motivation or perfect conditions undermines progress. What matters is showing up consistently, sometimes without self-belief, and generating evidence through action. Resilience and stubbornness to keep going, despite doubt, often prove more decisive than fleeting confidence. Chris also touches on the modern dating and relationship landscape, highlighting psychological stability and emotional resilience as crucial traits in a partner. He advises aspiring partners to first examine whether they are themselves the type of person their ideal partner would want to date, promoting self-improvement in appearance, health, and social presence authentically. For women, adopting receptiveness and signaling interest clearly can make a significant difference, given how fearful and cautious many men have become post-Me Too. Authentic connection should feel like a safe harbor, in contrast to life's external chaos. An important theme is the lonely chapter, a phase during which personal transformation leaves individuals out of sync with old social circles but not yet integrated into new ones. This dialect change or mismatch can be isolating and uncomfortable, but is a natural and necessary part of growth. Chris acknowledges the emotional difficulty of this period and stresses that long-term growth requires accepting the loneliness that can accompany shedding old identities and patterns. Embracing this discomfort rather than fleeing it is critical. Drawing from evolutionary biology and philosophy, the podcast explores how humans inherently resist equilibrium or regression to the mean, requiring ongoing effort to remain distinct and grow. This resistance demands energy, which must be consciously budgeted by shedding unhelpful habits. Chris also reflects on the provisional nature of life and the deception of deferred living, where happiness is postponed indefinitely, creating a perpetual state of dissatisfaction. He reminds listeners that troubles are constant, and joy lies in embracing the ride despite uncertainty and struggle. Chris offers a candid account of his personal battles with severe health challenges, including mold poisoning affecting his energy, mood, and cognition. He shares how deeply those struggles tested his capacity for happiness, requiring intentional effort to stay present and kind to himself amid adversity. He advocates for acknowledging emotions as legitimate rather than suppressing them, highlighting the compounding effect of shame and anxiety that worsens suffering. His story underscores the importance of celebrating small victories and moments of grace as genuine progress. In closing reflections, Chris encourages listeners to confront uncomfortable questions honestly and to seize moments like the year-end as unique opportunities for meaningful reflection and course correction. He shares resources such as his free annual review template designed to facilitate this process and extends an invitation to embrace agency and authentic growth. Ultimately, his message strikes a balance between striving with discipline and giving oneself permission to rest and find joy amidst life's inherent difficulties.